Hey guys, Hayden here again from Alarm System Store, and today we're getting into part 2 of our Neo programming guide. So when we hop over to the table, I'm going to show you how to do normally closed loops on all your circuits for your sensors, and then we're going to do zone definitions, zone attributes, a little bit into partitioning. I don't want to go too far into that because we are going to have a separate video that covers all of that in depth, and it's not something that should be messed with unless you know what you're doing. Then we're also going to do entry and exit delay and master and user codes. So let's hop over to the table and I'll get started on setting up our zones so that we can keep them from scrolling like they have been. Alright, so now we're moving on to programming our zones. So first thing we're going to do is hop over to the panel, and I'm going to hook up the wires to the board, and then we'll connect them to the devices here, and then we'll get to programming. So on zone 1 we just have a regular door contact, so we're going to be using zone 1 terminal and the common associated with it. And for every pair of zones you have a common terminal. So zone 2 is going to use the zone 2 terminal and the common that we used with zone 1. Now for zone 3 we're going to be hooking up a motion detector, so we're going to use the zone 3 and the common for it. And then we're going to be hooking the power wires to the aux plus and aux minus terminals on the left side of the board. So now that we have the wires hooked to the board, we're going to take the other end of our wires and connect them to the sensors. And I'll go ahead and speed through this part. I'm just going to be hooking these wires in. So I went ahead and hooked our wires to the sensors and powered the system back up. So as you can see, the zones are still scrolling through here. And that's because this system comes default to look for resistors, but we're not using them since we have such a simple little setup here. Best practice is to use resistors, but you don't have to. It's really just a more comprehensive troubleshooting method. So it's going to let you know where shorts are at in your wiring. So since we don't have resistors on this system, what we're going to do is make all of our loops normally closed rather than look for an end-of-the-line resistor. So we're going to go into programming, star 8, 5555, and we're going to go to section 013. This very first option in these system options is normally closed loops. So all we're going to do is hit star and turn that on. And so now the system knows not to look for resistors at the end of the line on these sensors. So as you can see, 1 through 3 is no longer scrolling through. It's just doing 4 through 8. Now if you are using some resistors, there is a way to set each zone up individually to either use a resistor or a normally closed loop, and I'll show you that in a minute. But first we need to fix the zone definitions for the rest of these so that they stop scrolling through like that. So we're going to go back into programming, star 8, 5555, and scroll over one time to 001, zone definitions. Now these first 8 come with definitions programmed into them. And zone 1, if we hit star, is going to be delay 1. Now there's 2 types of delays. There's delay 1 and delay 2. And this is talking about your entry delay. And here in a little bit we're going to go over how to set your entry and exit delays. But just keep in mind there are 2 entry delays and 1 exit delay. So if you have one door that you would like to be on 30 seconds and one you would like to be on 60 seconds for entry, then you can set your delay 1 up to 30 seconds and your delay 2 up to 60, and then you can choose which one that sensor is going to use whenever it's opened. So for now we're just going to use delay 1, hit star, and it's going to scroll to zone 2. Now from here on out everything is either going to be instant or interior by default. So for this door, we're just going to pretend it's a back door, and we're not going to come in that way, so we do want this as an instant door. So we're going to leave that at 003, hit star, and it's going to go to zone 3, which is our motion sensor. Now you don't want an instant definition for a motion sensor. So for interior stay away, it actually allows your system to arm in both stay or away mode and tells the system whether or not this zone needs to be bypassed. For interior, it's going to arm no matter what mode you're in. So we're going to set this to interior stay away because we want the stay function available on our system. Now, real quick, I'll go over the delay stay away. This is exactly like the door sensors that I was talking about, but it's going to use delay 1 every time for these. So let's say you have a motion right inside after your front door, and you still need that delayed so that you can walk by it to get to your keypad. Then you want to set that very first motion as a delay stay away so that when it's tripped, it activates the entry delay and doesn't instantly alarm. So we're going to set this one for an interior stay away. And now it's going to scroll to zone 4. Now we don't have anything hooked up for zones 4 onward. So to get rid of these, we're going to type 000 and make them a null zone. And basically all that does is turn them off in programming. So now that we've done that, if we back out, none of our zones are scrolling anymore, and we have our green check mark. So we're good to go. We can arm the system now. We can either do it in stay or away. But we're going to go into a little bit more programming options just so that you guys can see them. And we're going to start over here on the touch screen. So we're going to go into keypad mode, which just brings up this on the touch screen. And we're going to hit *8 and then 5555, same as you would over there. We're going to scroll over, and here's zone definitions. We're going to scroll over one more time to 002, and this is zone attributes. Now most of these you want to leave the same. You have to select your zone first. But these first few options are up to the user. So for Bell Audible, all that means is that whenever that sensor is tripped and it's put into alarm, then the system is going to sound the siren. If you turn it off, the siren will not sound. If you do Bell Steady, if that's on, then the siren is going to make a steady siren output noise. If you turn it off, it's going to be a pulsing sound. So chime function means that if your chime is turned on your keypad, whenever that door is opened or that motion sensor is walked in front of, the keypad's going to beep a few times to let you know that somebody either walked in or somebody's walking past a motion, whatever it may be. And then bypass enable just allows you to bypass the zone if you need to, which basically just means you turn it off for an arming period. So the rest of these options, like force arm, swing shutdown, the rest of these we're going to leave the same. These are default on, and those are for coding or police coding purposes and zoning, things like that. So unless you know what you're doing, don't mess with them. But all the definitions for those are in the manuals if you want to check that stuff. But what we want to look for is the more options under zone attributes. If we hit star on it, this is where you turn each sensor individually to either a normally closed loop or an end-of-the-line resistor loop. So there are double EOLs and other things, but we're not going to go into that in this video. So let's say these two had resistors on them, but this very first one didn't. We could manually change this first zone to a normally closed loop and leave the others set up for resistor usage. Now, since we've already set everything to normally closed loops, then we're just going to leave it as it is. But I just wanted to show you where those options were in case you need them. Alright, so now that we got our zones fixed up, the next thing I'm going to do is go into a little bit about partitioning. And partitioning is just a way to section out your system. And basically you create little mini systems within your one larger system. I'm just going to show you how to turn it on and how to turn on and off zones while in partitioning. But we are going to put out another video where we go very hard in depth on this. I'm actually going to set up multiple partitions on a system with multiple keypads and go into all the details on that. But if you're going to do this, make sure you read the manual, do some homework, know what you're doing prior to doing it. Okay, so a little bit about partitioning. So with partitions, like I said, you can separate your system into multiple mini systems, basically. And to turn this on, we're going to go into programming, star 8, 5555. And then we're going to go to section 200. Now this is where you can turn partition masking on. So by default, partition 1 is where everything goes. So partition 1 is going to be on. Now if we wanted to turn on multiple partitions, which we won't do in this video, but I wanted to show you where it was, you would do it here. Now as you can see, there's up to 8 partitions total that you can have. Now if we want to talk about specific zones, then we go to 201 for partition 1 zone masking, or 202 partition 2 zone masking, and so on. Now, like I said in that other video that we're going to be doing, we're going to be setting up a whole nother partition, which goes a lot more in depth into this. We're going to set up different keypads for the partition, but this is where you would change those settings if you needed to. Alright, so now that we've kind of covered partitioning, I want to go into entry and exit delays. Entry and exit delays are obviously time you have on entry to disarm the system and time you have after arming the system to exit the house. And there's also one called settle delay. Now settle delay is a false alarm prevention timer, and basically it just gives you an additional 10 seconds if you need it, where the sensors are turned off after the system is armed to make sure that you don't set off any false alarms. Now we're going to go into entry and exit delay times. So to do that, we're going to go into programming, star 8 5555, and we're going to scroll over or type in 005 for system times. Now if we hit star on system times, it's going to bring up 000, which is system area. Now this has a lot of different timer options. The first of which is the bell cutoff timer, which is how long the siren sounds after the system has been in alarm. It's going to go to bell delay timer, which is going to delay your siren output after the alarm has gone off. If we scroll through that, then there's a bunch of other timers. Now these are all in your manual. We're not going to cover them in this video, but this is where all of your system area times are. But what we're looking for is partition 1. That's going to bring up our entry and exit delay timers for partition 1, which, like I said, is where all of our stuff is set up. Now this first entry delay is the main entry delay. Any zone definition that says delay, except for the one that says delay 2, uses this delay. Now, this is how much time you have after you enter your home to get to your panel and shut the alarm off before it goes in to alarmed state. So I usually set mine at about 45 seconds, so 045, and now it's going to go to entry delay 2. Now this is for delay 2 definition, and this is for like a back door or some other sort of entry that you're going to be coming into your home and you want to give yourself a different amount of time. So if you wanted to set this one, the minimum for entry delays is 30 seconds. You can set it up to 255 seconds if you want. If I do use a delay 2, it depends on where it's at in the home, but I typically set up 120 seconds. That's 2 minutes. And then it's going to bring us to exit delay. Now this is how much time you have to leave your home after the system is armed. So the first thing you have to take into account is that this is where 90% of false alarms come from. Anytime you forget something or have to go back into your home, you want to make sure you've given yourself enough time on your exit delay so that you don't accidentally set off an alarm re-entering your home. I always set mine for at least 90 seconds. That way I have plenty of time, and if I forget something, then I can come back and turn the alarm off before I go grab it and then reset it, whatever the case may be. But you don't want to be limiting yourself on the way out the door, because then you'll feel rushed, and that's when a lot of false alarms happen. That's going to bring us to settle delay. Now settle delay is another type of false alarm prevention timer. Basically what this does is it gives you an additional 10 seconds if you want it, that after the system is armed, the sensors will still be off. So leaving it at 0 is going to turn off the settle delay basically, but you can set it for up to 10 seconds so that after your system is armed, your sensors will not set off the alarm for another 10 seconds. Now that we've got the system times done, I wanted to go into master and user codes. There's 95 total codes that can be put into this system. The first one is always the master code, so master code plus 94 additional users can be added to the Neo system. I'm also going to show how to add a prox tag, and that way if you have a keypad that is prox tag compatible, you can add that and use it as a user. Now for master and user codes. Now real quick, I wanted to go over the codes that are in the programming sections. So we're going to open up star 8 5555 and go to section 006. Now this is the installer code section. Now this first one is the installer code, which is the 5555 that we've been using to enter programming. You can change that here. You can change the master code here also. And it's also got a maintenance and guard code. And what these are codes you can give to maintenance or guard personnel so that they can disarm your system and arm it without being able to change any settings on your system. Now if we back all the way out of here, now for master and user codes, we're just going to enter star 5 and then our current master code. The default is 1234. Now user 1 is the master code. It will always be the master code. You can't change it. You can't take supervisory power off of user 1. But if we hit star on it, or hit star on access code, then it brings up our current master code. If we wanted to change it, we just type in a new number. So I'm going to change it to 1111, and that set the new master code. If we hit pound, it's going to bring us to user 2. There are a total of 95 user codes that you can add to this system. 94 if you don't count the master code. And if we wanted to add a secondary code, just hit star on it. It's going to pop up with a bunch of A's, and here is where you would enter your new code. So let's say we wanted 2222. Then you can label this one whatever you want. If it's for a particular person, whatever. If you want to assign it to a specific partition, as long as you're on user 2 through 95, you'll be able to assign partitions. And then under user options, this first option is supervisor. Basically what that does is it makes it a secondary master code. It allows them into the settings of the system and add user codes, do things like that. Anything that is in the star 5 or star 6 menu, it will allow them to do. So real quick, I wanted to show you how to program a prox tag as well. These come with the touch screen or any keypad that has a P in the title of it. And so the touchscreen is the only one we have here that's prox tag compatible. So we're going to open up the access code menu on the touchscreen, which under options, hit access codes, and then we're going to use our master code. So 1111. And then we're going to scroll to an open user, and user 3, hit select on it. And on the touchscreen, this is where you would change all of your user programming. So you can set the access code, program a prox tag, user and partition attributes, and this is where you label it as well. So we're going to do a prox tag, so hit prox tag programming. It says present prox tag, so we're going to swipe this here. Prox tag for user 3 enrolled. And that's how simple it is to program a prox tag. Now, if we wanted to set up an access code for it as well, then we can make it 3333. So now user 3 has both a code and a prox tag that is available to use for it. Alright, and that's going to do it for our Neo programming guide. I know this was simple, but I just wanted to go over exactly what you needed to get your system up and running as a standalone system. In the future, we're going to be putting out a lot of videos for different communicators and different modules, things like that. We're also going to be doing a partitioning video, like I mentioned, and I believe the very next one that's coming out is for the CosMod module. It's a module that allows you to use combination CO, carbon monoxide, and smoke detectors through either a 4-wire module or a 2-wire module. So keep an eye out for that, and like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions for videos, please leave them down in the comments, and we will get to them as soon as we are able. And that's going to be it for me. So I'll talk to you guys later.